This time on the Dirthead Shed, we start out by pressure washing the D50 and just trying to clean it up, and we end up on an epic road trip. This is a wild one. Welcome back into the Dirthead Shed. This week I got to get the D50 ready for kind of a long road trip. I just got this truck and it looks cool. It's got the right style going on, but it's not ready to go drive anywhere. So it's time that we get cracking on that. I've got a pile of parts ordered from Rock Auto, just a bunch of like basics, you know, belts and hoses and tune-up stuff. And I actually just scored a huge pile of parts from the Pull and Save Auto Parts place. So before we get started on any of that kind of stuff, I really need to get this thing cleaned up and ready to work on. I mean, it's just filthy under the hood. It's filthy everywhere else, and it's just covered in moss. So let's get outside and, well, let's first start by vacuuming out the big stuff that's in the bed, and then we'll drag it outside and fire up the pressure washer and see if we can clean this thing up. Should be good. Let's get the big stuff out of the bed. Just old piles of leaves and stuff that'll come up kind of easy. Might as well just clean those up and throw them in the trash, rather than pressure washing them and blowing them all over my driveway. I got this battery powered vacuum from Harbor Freight and it's been doing a pretty good job. Let's try it out on this. This thing's amazing. That's looking better already. This is pretty wild, the amount of moss that's like sitting up on top of the wheel wells. All right, I think we're good to pull this thing outside and get the pressure washer set up. To run my pressure washer over. I think we'll start by doing the engine, so let me prop this up and we'll throw some degreaser in here. I've got a few cans of gunk over there on the floor. So I've got basically just original gunk engine degreaser. We're gonna go ahead and hose down everything in here. Let it soak for a minute. Luckily the engine's not super hot, so it's not just like burning it off. This stuff's a little aggressive as far as getting it on your paint and stuff goes, but I'm not really that worried about it. I'd rather have this thing clean up and see what we're working with than worry about couple stains on the paint here and there. I did go ahead and I put a rubber washer on the air cleaner there. It was missing, so hopefully that keeps the water from getting down the carb. We don't need perfection, but we do want this thing to not look like it's 200 years old. This thing's gonna clean up so good. Probably won't ever run again, but it'll look nice. Might as well run around this with a little soft bristle brush, help out the degreaser a little bit. I've got a bunch of detailing supplies and stuff from over the years. Seems like I never use it anymore. So it's kind of cool to be digging through my cabinet and using some of these chemicals and stuff up. I think that gunk that I sprayed on here is probably 6 or 7 years old. Let's try this stuff too. I got some biodegradable Malco degreaser. Might as well throw some of that in there. It's about empty. This is my new little pressure washer that I got. A friend of mine gave it to me because he lost the hose and gun for it. So I just kind of got it. I just got it up and going. It still has some old gas in it, but it seems like it works pretty good. I'm going to start back here and get all this stuff out of that rubber channel. Oh my gosh, it is coming so clean. This is crazy. It looks like a new truck. The engine bay is looking good. Amazing, really. Holy cow. Alright, I guess I want to clean the bottom side of the hood real quick, and then we'll get into some grill and all that stuff. Get some of that moss off of there. Man, that grill cleaned up good. It could definitely use a coat of paint, but it doesn't need to get replaced. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try and fire this thing up before I get too far along. Yes, still runs. Whew. I was worried. A lot of times you'll get the distributor wet and the thing will quit running. You gotta like pull the cap off and whatnot. But nope, not this one. This thing's good to go. I'm stoked. That went super well. I feel like we should start washing the rest of it. Man, this thing's nice. I'm gonna go grab some Comet to mix in with my soapy water so that we can kind of scrub this thing a little bit better. Here's my secret sauce over here. Basically, I've got this Malco Ultraviolet car wash soap. We've got some Comet. I'm gonna put a ton of this in here. And I actually did pour just whatever was left of this Malco degreaser in here. I'm hoping that whatever this concoction is able to get all the moss and whatnot off of here. All right, let's mix this up. Clean this truck. Truthfully, I think the pressure washer is the saving grace on this setup. I might as well use all this. I'm gonna have to go buy more anyways. Let's get this mixed in good. right, let's do this. Here's that nasty moss. See how this turns out. I kind of feel like the bleach that's in the Comet is going to be good on getting rid of this moss. I mean, it's blasting right off of here, but oh man, this is awesome. What a cool truck. This thing's a time capsule. The paint just has all this like dark staining on it. It's not like moss buildup like around the windows on the rubber, but it's not far behind it. I'm gonna try and get a close-up on that logo. You gotta kind of work for it still. I don't think this thing's been washed in a while. Let's see how this Comet wash works. It is single stage paint because it is scrubbing some color off, but it feels like we're probably getting most of that grunge off of there too. I'm not really sure how aggressive to be with this, but can't really mess it up, you know? The Comet is sort of abrasive, but it says it doesn't scratch, so it should be fine on glass. I have a feeling it'll definitely take a little bit of the shine off of the paint. But again, that doesn't really bother me too much. It's definitely getting color off and grunge. It looks amazing. I love it. This is going to be the perfect kind of patina. It's not even really patina, it's just what it is, you know? It'll just be clean and sort of dull. All those little spots, all the moss and mold on the hood came right off. This thing is so dang good. So dang good. Awesome. This is all that moss. It looks so cool spraying it off. Just like that, it's like new again. We got one drain hole over here and it's getting a workout. There it is, all washed up. It looks good. No more moss and spots and mildew. It cleaned up pretty well. All the trim is looking good. It's funny, like all the rubber is like so sort of old and rough that the fuzz from the car wash sponge was getting stuck all over it. All right, we're back in the shop. I don't really have a game plan on what I'm doing, but I figured I'd pull it back in and we'll start figuring it out. I know I've got the drive shaft vibration that I created when I lowered it. I want to look into that, and then I want to at least replace a belt. I bought 2 belts. I don't know which ones I got, but might as well see if I can swap them out because I would like to drive this thing to work tomorrow. It's Sunday night right now. So if I can mess around with it a little bit and get it to where it'll drive to work kind of safely, that'd be rad. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. It's amazing, really. I've got the truck jacked up again. So this thing has had a drive shaft vibration since I lowered it. It probably had it before then. Check this out. So I'm under the truck and this thing's been having a drive shaft vibration. It's hard to tell if this is going to capture it or not. But you can look here at the carrier bearing and there's no more rubber in it. Drive shaft's just flopping around like crazy in there. Carrier bearing is absolutely wasted. The bearing itself is fine, but the rubber around the whole thing is just missing all of its cushion and rubber and all that stuff. And I had this same problem on that Plymouth Arrow when I was like 19 years old. And we're gonna fix it the same way I did back then. Luckily, you can actually still get new carrier bearings for this thing. Rock Auto has them, but I don't have one right now. So we're gonna fix it with a bunch of pieces of rubber fuel line, fuel hose. I'm sure you can figure this out, but basically I'm gonna take a bunch of pieces of rubber fuel hose and we're gonna cram them in here all the way around this thing until it spaces that bearing back to where we want it. There we go. Get a bunch of little chunks of rubber hose crammed in there. I wasn't able to get them all the way up and around the top, but this is gonna be probably good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and try and pack in there with the RTV and like fill in as many of the voids as I can. And we'll find out tomorrow if this thing works or not. All right, I'm back in the shop. It's Monday morning. I got to get on the road to work. I'm going to take the little orange truck. I'm going to take the tools that I had at the wrecking yard. I'm probably going to throw my bike in the back just in case. And I guess we'll find out if that carrier bearing repair worked last night. Let this thing run for a minute. I'll throw my bike and my tools in it and we'll hit the road. This is the most important part of driving old junk. Just making sure you have a backup plan. I don't think many people do this anymore. I wonder if this truck is stoked that it's like firing up and going to work. I would think so. All right, let's go to work. We're cruising. The drive shaft problem, I think, is solved. Yeah. Ooh, the sun visors are nice. Driving old junk makes going to work a little bit easier. Canola fields are looking amazing today. Wheat on the right. Truck is awesome. All right, I better quit screwing around with my camera and get to work. It's a couple days later. The truck worked fine getting me to work for a couple of days, and now I'm back in the shop and it's time to start prepping this thing to go down to the Gambler 500 this weekend. I've got to deliver this scooter to Tate, the guy who runs the Gambler 500, and I feel like the little Mighty Max D50 is probably the truck to use. So I just spent the last hour and a half moving stuff out of the way and making space because I'm going to push the Jeep forward. Hopefully it fits in that space there so that then I can put the D50 on the rack and then the Nissan hardbody behind it. I guess that all makes sense. So basically I'm just moving a bunch of stuff around so that I can work on other stuff while not actually finishing any of the first stuff that I was working on. Because that's what we do, we're car guys. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to get back to this engine swap another day. D50 coming in. Oh man, it's gonna be right up against that Jeep. Let's figure out if we can get this thing racked where it's at. I can only go forward about 6 inches, but it's looking pretty far back on the lift. Let's see how it feels. It's a little back heavy, I think. Doesn't seem too sketchy. Give it a shake. Right away on this one, I'm gonna throw a stand under the back of this, and I'm probably gonna give it a little bit of pressure just because I wanna make sure that lift is not stressing out. All right, we're under the truck, and overall this thing is incredibly clean. You can see I do have that 4th orange wagon spoke wheel. It just had a flat at some point in time. Tire was dry rotted and just came apart, I'm sure. The blocks are in there doing their job. The shocks are good. The pulled leaf isn't doing anything weird. Muffler's got a big hole rusted in it. This truck is really a good survivor. Some wiring going on here for the camper shell wiring that it had. Carrier bearing repair from the other night is working sweet. No rust in the rockers. Exhaust is all scraped up from dragging it on speed bumps and driveways over the last few days. Cool, this truck is bitchin'. All right, it's Wednesday night, it's 10 o'clock. I need to go inside and go get some sleep. I gotta work tomorrow, and then we should be able to focus on this thing a little bit before heading down to the Gambler. I think this truck's gonna be a good one. It should be totally fine on the road trip. I'm gonna probably get in here and rework some exhaust that's a little higher clearance and hopefully sounds a little better. And then we'll just start working our way through other little problems on this truck. The truck's up on the lift and all my Rock Auto parts are showing up and they're on the ground. I kind of went shotgun approach and just ordered pretty much everything I could that would go on a D50. So we'll get busy on here and see what we actually really get done. Right now, I've got to leave. I got to leave tomorrow morning super early. I kind of want to change a front fender so that tire doesn't rub on it. It's been getting hit pretty hard there. So I want to do that. I definitely need to do the oil change. Probably should service the transmission. The exhaust is hanging down. I should probably change that. Carrier bearing's kind of junk and I got a new one of those. Might as well do U-joints while I'm in there. The shocks are kind of wimpy and I got to haul a scooter, and we've got a spare tire that is definitely blown out, so I need to swap that. Yeah, plenty of stuff to do. And it's already noon on Friday. I got to leave tomorrow morning first thing. Situation normal. I turned away for a second and look at this, even more stuff showed up. This is kind of cool. You can't get oil filters for these trucks at the auto parts store anymore, but Rock Auto has suppliers that have like new old stock of stuff. So these are oil filters. These Proline ones used to be from Pep Boys back in the day. And then if you look over here, you can see like the wheel cylinders are old Robustus. There's some cool old parts here. Kind of neat. Old McQuay Norris upper ball joints. Bitchin'. All right, I'm gonna start small, and we're gonna do rear axle gear oil, transmission gear oil, and then we'll do the engine oil change. I got my bucket set up here with some Tractor Store 8090 and drain pan up there. Let's get busy. Let's start small. This old snap-on ratchet lost the little selector valve. All right, this is kind of neat. There's like some old Japanese script on the tag for the axle. It looks very Toyota-esque. All right, gear oil coming out. Doesn't look too bad, really. I really would be surprised if it's ever been changed. Get it. track down some rags. Check in this drawer that says clean rags. All right. Rear axle goo coming out. Fresh goo about to go in. The drain plug had a little bit of metallic on it. It's a magnetic drain plug, so that's kind of cool. There are old there's old wasp nests all over this rig. Everywhere you look, there's like an old wasp nest. There's an old beehive. Switch my ratchet back to Titan. Alright, good to go. I'm about due for another 5 gallons of gear oil. That's like 5 gallons at a time is the only way to get this stuff. The best way. You save a bunch of money. There we go. Alright, we're getting close. Let me... That is topped off. Alright, rear axle serviced. Call that a win? Let's move up to the transmission. Come on, everybody. Follow me. Let's see what the transmission has to say. It's kind of weird, this transmission has a drain pan that almost looks like it would be from an automatic. Come on. Oil. Be in there. Yep. There's a bunch. There's a lot of oil for that transmission, and it is gear oil. Cool. The fill plug doesn't want to give up. There we go. This is the key to keeping old junk on the road. You gotta kind of start out with the maintenance, and then you really kind of need to baby these things. Like, go at it like this thing is a fragile antique until you get to know it really well. You gotta kind of like listen for every noise. You gotta drive it a little bit easier than you would your normal car. Figure out what this thing, figure out the history on it, really. Figure out what things are good and bad and what you gotta change. We are getting low on gear oil. Jeez, I'm making all kinds of noise. There we go. We're at the top. Let's get this engine oil knocked out. Ooh, the engine oil was definitely due. Come off of there, oil filter. This one's right here in front. Nice and easy to get at. Definitely gonna want to make sure that I check to make sure the gasket comes off of the engine on this. This would be an easy truck to double gasket just because that one's probably hard as a rock. Good old truck. I'm using 1030 Valvoline Blue Syn. It's kind of a synthetic blend. I've got a 55 gallon drum of it, so I've just got a bunch of random bottles that I pour it out of. This is not actually Yamalube. Let's see where we're at. It's on the dipstick, that's good. So it is a 4-quart pan plus a filter. Go ahead and just put a little more in because the filter is dry. All right, oil change done. Got the fluids all changed and it's now about 1 o'clock. I went in and made myself some quesadillas because I was starving. And now I think it's time to figure out what is really next. What has to get done before I hit this road trip and what I want to get done. Basically, what I'm thinking is going to be step 1 is going to be exhaust work. And I really do want to trim some of the metal up in here so that I end up with a little bit more up travel. It rides like absolute garbage. So I think what we need to do is get in here and cut some of this stuff up. Let's go ahead and start there. As much as I want to come in here and like trim this all awesome and airbag it and do all this other stuff, right now it's time to just kind of do what we got to do. This would be something similar to what I would have done when I was, you know, a teenager and cruising my mini truck. I would have just kind of done what I had to do in order to have the thing working for the weekend. And I think this is the trick. I got that cut almost all the way through. Let's see if I can get on the back side of this thing and do the same. That's cool. Boom. Instant up travel. There we go. That was pretty cool. We'll see if that helps stop some of the bottoming out that we were doing. It was pretty constant. We'll just throw those right there. Get back to work. It's Friday at 4 and my buddy Matt came over to help get this thing ready. He and I are going to be on the road trip heading down to the Gambler in this. I don't even know if I explained what the end goal was, but we're going to take this truck down to the Gambler 500 this weekend. And it's like 400 miles away, so it's time to do some maintenance. All these parts, some of them are going to get put on the car. I think right now Matt is going to start messing with drive shaft, pull the drive shaft out. We're going to swap to some new greasable U-joints. We're going to get rid of that carrier bearing, which I modified and repaired the other night, and it works amazing, but I did buy a new one off Rock Auto. So we're going to throw these parts in right away. He's going to mess with that while I get in here and start chopping up this exhaust. It drags on the ground a bunch like I showed you earlier, so we're going to chop that and tuck it up higher, and might as well make it sound cool at the same time. That muffler's been on there for 44 years and the back of it's all rusted out, so we'll put a different one on there. I'm going to come over here and just start cutting out the exhaust. I don't have a real good game plan on how it's going back together. We'll start by cutting the tailpipe out and then work forward. Cool. So down here is just a resonator. This was the thing that was dragging on the ground the most. So the resonator can come out and the muffler is going to come out. It has a catalytic converter still, and that's built into the exhaust manifold on this truck. So that part I'm not even messing with. This is essentially just a cat back system. Let's see what we can do to make it go back together. A scrap pile's getting piled up. I think this front portion right now, just to get it done and tucked up, I'm gonna reuse this stock piece, but in stock form it hung down like right here. I cut a little chunk off, I'll be able to tuck that up higher, and then I just kind of need to sand this transition here flat, and then we'll be able to tack that thing back together. I've trimmed about 1.5 inches off of this pipe, and it is tucked up there pretty darn high. So I'm gonna tack that. We've gained a bunch of space, a bunch of clearance. So it's no longer gonna be the lowest hanging thing on the truck. Let me grab the welder and we'll tack it in place. First chunk is good to go. I've got a couple of universal exhaust systems over there, and this one is a 2 1/4 dual kit from Dynamax. And I think pieces and parts of it are gonna totally work out to get this job done. This will get me up over this back cross member and eliminate where that resonator was. And then if I cut this just right, I should have a nice transition between the two pipes. This new piece that I'm adding in is 2 1/4, and that piece that the truck has is 2 inch. So I could probably just slip it over there and fill the gap, but I'm gonna go instead and kind of give this thing a little bit of a bell flare. Just with a pair of vice grips, work that around, and that'll kind of help with the transition. I'm also only flaring the top side and the sides of it, and that'll kind of make it to where this tube is actually sitting high on this tube. That way I don't have like a big lip down here to get caught on speed bumps and stuff. Again, it's 5:30 on the night before we're supposed to leave. So I can't get too crazy with all this. It's kind of in typical fashion. It's just get it close enough to hit the road. You can see there the flare. It's flat on the bottom here, and then it's just got the flare on the top. That'll allow me to slip that on and have like a super nice fit. And just a clean weld. That'll get up over that cross member, and then we can work into the muffler zone. Muffler zone. All right, let's weld this section on. Come on, helmet, do your thing. Let's go to this one. That's working better. Really getting after it now. Muffler zone. All right. Let's weld this muffler in. It's highway to Muffler Town. Wait, muffler zone. And get up there around the top as far as possible for my first couple tacks. And then I'll work my way around. Cool. Good, we have like a catback exhaust system. We'll throw some hangers on it so the front's good, and then we'll probably just do a little turn down on the back. After a little back and forth and figuring out what I'm doing, I'm back to just throwing a turn down on it, but I am gonna kick it inboard a little bit just so that it's not blowing right on the axle and it won't be blown right on a air shock if I have one here. I kind of feel like this exhaust is good for this static drop, but if I if I choose to airbag this thing, we'll be doing the exhaust again, because I'm gonna end up like changing cross members and tucking everything up even higher. So this is a quick, down and dirty, get it done for now kind of thing. So we have a little bit of a mishap going on right now with the drive shaft. Matt is running all over town on a Friday night trying to get new U-joints, because the ones I got from Rock Auto are not right. But that is just kind of, that's just kind of part of building cars. Luckily it seems like there is one in town, or sorry, it seems like there's 3 in town at 2 different locations. So we should have that sorted out this evening as well, which is good. All right, one more hanger on this exhaust, and we should be good to go. Here's the part number for that thrush turbo. I don't know if that's actually the part number for just the muffler or if it was part of that kit, but it's just a 2 1/4 offset center, 14-inch body thrush turbo. All right, here's the deal. We got about 1.5 inches of ground clearance up here with sectioning out that chunk of that downpipe. We got it tucked right up against the cross member with a little bit of room for give. Then we step up from that 2-inch factory pipe to 2 1/4, up over the carrier bearing cross member, a couple little pieces here and there, and we've got that muffler going on up here, and then a turn down. So made a high clearance exhaust system without having to go to the muffler shop, which is always good. And back here we just have a turn down, and it's leaned in just enough to where if I have an air shock in here, we shouldn't be like blowing hot exhaust right on that bellow on it. Let's check this one off the list and say the exhaust is done for now. Pretty cool. Please be cool, I'm sure it will be. Nice and throaty. Let's hear it. That sounds good. Kind of deep sounding, not raspy at all. I would call the exhaust job a success. Let's step over all these parts and figure out what is next. So this scooter over here, this thing is the whole reason behind this trip. That thing belongs to Tate, who runs the Gambler 500, and we're gonna haul it down to the event in this truck. But since I lowered it, it doesn't have much like payload capacity, so we're gonna add some air shocks to it. These are just a cheap Monroe air shock, but they're a stud to stud mount, and this truck is loop to loop. So we're gonna go and chop up some stuff and make those shocks into loop to loop shocks. Let's get busy. Step 1 in making these shocks loop to loop is gonna be getting rid of those stud or pin tops on them. I could have gone and bought some of the proper shocks for this thing. They have gone up to these things used to be like 69 bucks a pair, and now they're like right around $135 a pair. So for 135 bucks, I'm just gonna modify the ones I got. I gotta liberate these eyelets off of these sway bar end links so we can reuse them. There's one. And two. All right, we got all of our end link bushing sleeve thingies. I'm gonna clean these up with the flap disc and then we'll go ahead and weld them onto the shocks. All right, let's just weld this one on. They typically say not to weld on shocks because the oil inside of them is pressurized and you could blow yourself up. So whatever you do, don't go welding on shocks. I'm gonna go ahead and cool these off really quick as I work on them. That way, hopefully we don't mess up anything internally in the shock. So I mentioned you aren't supposed to weld on shocks, and that's true. This is actually the side that's got the oil and stuff in it and the charge, so you definitely want to be careful. And part of what I did already was I cut the stud off so that where the stud is actually welded to the housing, that's actually staying put. And I'm just kind of welding a 1/4 inch down from there. So hopefully it's not actually getting the shock body itself hot. Matt did it. We got new U-joints in here. Had to drive all over town because the ones that I got from Rock Auto were not the right size.
Not the right ones.
They were for a smaller drive shaft.
This is the heavy duty D50.
So now it's time to grease this thing up and slam it home.
Yeah, dog.
Let's get this shock out of here. These are probably the original shocks to the truck. They served it well, but they're gonna get replaced. I think I'm gonna have to go in here and cut this bracket a little bit to make some more room for the air shock. Just so that when it's compressed, this isn't the air bellow on it's not rubbing on that piece of plate. I'll sand this up real quick so there's not a bunch of jagged edges, and then we can bolt the shock in. Air shocks are in. I went and ran some air lines, kind of temporary style, back towards the bumper. And now I'm gonna lower this spare tire down and get this thing out of the way. Usually on a lowered truck, having a spare underneath doesn't really work so hot anyways, because a lot of times you'd go to lower it down and it would just hit the ground and you wouldn't be able to get it out of there. I don't know that this truck is that low. I think I'll probably just put the other spare back under here. Look at that. Exhaust. Come on. See that fresh oil filter up there? Dang. Oh, it's all covered in oil.
Forget the carrier bearing.
I'm getting there, dude. Come on. All right, I just got done throwing new belts on this thing. Did like all three, the power steering, alternator, and the AC belt. I don't know that the AC even works, but it's got a fresh belt. We plugged off a vacuum hose that goes to a mysterious nowhere. Matt's grabbing some tie downs up top, and we actually just dug out the scooter for Tate. So we're gonna load this scooter. It is 10:40 at night. And it's really important to be quiet right now. Okay, that went really smooth. This thing is giant. That was a super late night in the shop. I'm exhausted. It is now 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I just gotta kind of button up the last couple things and then go pick up Matt. The scooter's in the rig. I gotta air up the shocks right now and pull it back and then reset the toe on the front suspension. The tires were kind of pointing east and west when I was driving north, so I gotta fix that up, and then I think we're about ready to hit the road. I got my camping gear set in the house, and I'll throw some tools in here. Let me air this puppy up real quick and see if these air shocks worked. It made a bad noise. That counts for something. Yeah, and got it off the lift, and that's kind of a win. I think we're good. I'm gonna throw a bunch of tools in the truck and my camping gear and then hit the road and go pick up Matt. We're out of the house, out of the shop. The truck is loaded with tools. I got so much crap in here. I have tools and parts and all kinds of stuff. I'm going to pick up Matt right now. He's down at his shop. I think he's making some road bacon so that we have some snacks. And so far the truck's driving good. No hands on the wheel. It's driving straight-ish. It's not scrubbing. The drive shaft's not vibrating. That's cool. The air shocks are holding the back end of it up, and we're making miles. Cruising. We're about to Matt's. I need to probably swap batteries and stuff in my camera and get some other stuff charging. This was pretty rad. The cigarette lighter actually works and has power. That was a total win. I was assuming that we were going to be having to wire up some outlet at a gas station somewhere. Man, the truck is riding smooth. It's so much better with those front little eyebrow things cut out. It's not bottoming out constantly. Let's get out of here. Let's roll. Well, we almost left. We almost made it out. And the fuel pump, the little electric fuel pump that they threw in at the used car lot, died. Quick trip to O'Reilly, and we got an Edelbrock fuel pump, and we're just scabbing this thing in real quick. I'm gonna crank it up here in a second and see if we're pumping. If we are, we're good. If not, then we got something going on in the pickup in the tank. But we will find out here in a second. Dumb truck. I mean, good old truck.
Good old truck.
Pump on. It's moving vapors.
Yep, we're good.
There we go. And this will go right back to the carb. I really don't like electric fuel pumps. I wish that factory one hadn't been bad or messed with or whatever. I've been hunting down a mechanical pump for this since I got in the truck, and I cannot seem to find one. We're making miles. We're like 25, 30 miles out of town, and the truck's running good. The new fuel pump seems like it's working right. The gas gauge is barely moved. We're running right at like half on temperature. I'm keeping an eye on that close just because I have no idea what to expect out of this thing. We're rolling. It's like, how long ago did we buy this thing? 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not been in the family very long, and this truck's already out going on some wild road trip with a giant scooter in the bed. It's pretty rad. We've got 400 miles to get down to Bend to the Gambler 500. That's basically all we're trying to do is get down there, drop off the scooter and party, and then turn around and drive back tomorrow. All right, let's top this thing off. 3.25 is Matt's guess. I'm guessing 2.99.
Is it like the Price is Right?
Yeah, it's always Price is Right rules. 3.342.
Oh, dude.
You were pretty
I was
close.
pretty dang close. I was
We'll go
within a tenth of a gallon.
3.5 and it's splashing out.
66 miles.
Plus 4 to and from your shop. 70 miles.
So 3.34.
3.5. 70 divided by 3.5. That should be really easy. That's 20 miles to the gallon. Isn't it?
20, dude. Yeah.
That's not good enough.
What do you expect, dude? You got a sail in the back of this thing.
Yeah. All right, we're cruising down 84 next to the Columbia River. It's like 96 degrees out. I think Matt and I are the only guys that are cruising with the windows down. I don't know. Everybody else has to be hot rolling around with the windows up. Whatever.
I don't know.
We're just smarter than the rest, I guess. These are the shots I wanted. Ah, the dang old guardrail's in the way every time. I gotta get up higher. Oh, geez. Look at that. That's Washington over there. Oregon on this side. If you look way out there, you can see Mount Hood. Mount Hood was in my backyard, basically, when I was a little kid. There's the rocks that look like the Devil's Post pile. That's pretty crazy. Super rad. We're gonna pull in down here just below John Day Dam and go cool off for a minute because these vinyl seats are getting sweaty. This little truck kind of wears you out. Maybe I should get a boat. This looks like a cool spot. All right, we're rolling into Redmond, getting pretty close. Check this view out. That should be Sisters or Three Sisters. I don't know the mountains out here well enough, but I do know that Central Oregon is about as cool as it gets. This is Bend is sort of like central, kind of east side, so it's super deserty. I mean, that mountain right over there looks like we could be in Phoenix, Arizona, but I don't think Phoenix has those over there. We're getting close. The little truck's doing good. It's like heading right around 20 miles to the gallon. It's not doing anything weird. It doesn't go super fast. It doesn't ride super great, but it's getting us there. I'm just gonna say it right now. Matt's never owned a Volkswagen and he doesn't know who Ivan Stewart is. I don't know that we've got a lot of working on our relationship to do, Matt.
I'm sorry, dude.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll work through this. Oh, here we go. Gambler Town. Forward. All right. We're getting close. We're cruising the byways of Redmond, and I'm following a little Toyota pickup that has rad old Toyota Baja race truck livery on it. Is it livery or livery? Ah, we're going in. We got Hoopty Cross on the right. Welcome to Gambler Town. We're gonna go over here and find out if we can get in the gate. It's $200 to get into Gambler Town, I think, and my buddy Tate said, just show up the gate and tell them you're my friend, they'll let you in. And typically when I do that, it doesn't work. I'm gonna end up in some sort of gambler jail or something.
Hello.
I'm checking in and Tate said, tell them that you're getting in for free.
Tate said tell them you're getting it for free. I don't know.
I don't really know what to expect. I haven't been to a regular gambler since 2017.
Another ranchero.
Oh yeah. Cruise in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dude that works at Napa, right by your work.
Yeah.
That thing made it down here. That's cool. All right, we made it to Gambler Town. The little truck made it out of the shop in 400 miles down the highway. This thing is awesome. It was a ton of work. Thanks, Matt, for everything. He's behind the camera right now. We're gonna go set up camp and hang out with our buds. That's it for this Dirt Head Shed. We'll see you next week.